So, got something that we wanted to show here. Had a little dump truck the other day that had an alternator fail, which is the one that's in the box here, and that is a factory lease Neville. And no surprise that it failed because it's full of dust and we blew 10 pounds of dust out of it and the bearings sound like shit and everything, so it just simply wore out. It had a long life. The closest part store that we could get to had this one here, and we knew that this was not a good quality alternator, but we just figured, fuck it, we'll just toss this alternator on here to get it going for now, and then maybe put a better one on later or something like that. And so ran to the parts store, got this one, went to go bolt this onto the truck, and I guess you can... Well, there's not really too much of a wear mark, but anyways, we could only get 3 fucking bolts in because the casting was drilled. The casting was drilled incorrectly, and then so again to trucks on the side of the road and what have you is like, well, that sucks. I'm not really surprised about it because the quality of parts nowadays is fucking dog shit, especially this offshore crap. But again, it's like whatever. We'll just get the truck off the road and deal with it later.
Well, this one is Mexico, but yes.
Right. I still consider Mexico offshore, but I know it's... Wait, is it part of the same continent?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Tis North America.
But then we fired up the truck, and sure shit, the son of a bitch doesn't even charge either. And these here are only 2-wire alternators. They have their own built-in charge controller. So, if you hook wires up to this thing and it doesn't charge, then it's just the alternator's faulty, or, I don't know what it is with this one. It might be the charge controller, it might be something else, but suffice to say it doesn't work. So between it not fucking charging and the fact that we could only get 3 bolts in it, we were like, okay, screw it. Let's take the time and everything and let's get another Lease Neville alternator. And if you see on here, made in USA of US and non-US components, like that's a shame. I wish that these could be 100% made in the US. But I guess noteworthy here too that the Lease Neville is 160 amp, where the Wilson is, where the fuck is it? 140 amp. So that's kind of interesting.
And the one that came off was 130, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, where the fuck was I going with that? Oh, so right now is mid-July of 2022, and just everything seems to be fucking screwed right now. The quality of stuff, shipment times and all that kind of stuff and everything. So not surprised about this, but on the other hand, just wanted to show here, how badly fucked up this alternator is. So this one upper one here is 394, let's call it. And then this lower one, you can see I haven't moved the calipers yet. You can see how far off this one is here. And then if we actually measure this one here, we're I think I bumped it. 377. And then if we measure this one over here, $377.5. 377.5. Close enough anyways. I mean, we're not going for super accuracy here, but I think this alternator they said was like $150 or something like that. This one here is $400 if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, why waste your time and money and emotional currency and everything with this kind of crap here? And like,
well, and even if we had got one that bolted up just fine and everything and say it did work, how long would that last? Versus this one, like that's probably a legitimate warranty that they give you on this.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be some fine print of, oh, well, you got to fill out the warranty form and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just frustrating and annoys me how crappy everything's become nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That was the point. All right. Wasn't planning on making another segment to this, but afterwards, when I was watching the video back, I noticed what had happened to the other alternator there. Got the new alternator on, it works fantastic, charges, making power, does everything it's supposed to, which, you know, no surprise, quality part, get what you pay for. So fantastic to have, you know, a good alternator back on the engine. And I suppose I was going to say too that this original alternator that came off here, of course this could be repaired and rebuilt and, you know, get back going again. And of course, when I say rebuilt, I mean, you know, properly rebuilt, you know, sandblast down the cases and, you know, make it look like new again and refurbish the internals, new bearings and new brushes and all that kind of thing and what have you. Certainly that can be done to this one here. You know, this doesn't need to go in the scrapyard or anything. Hopefully, the customer will want to keep this one and have it rebuilt and kept around as a spare. But customer bought bought that alternator and the new, you know, the new Lease Neville that we put on here. So give this back to the customer and they can do with it what they wish. And just to say, you know, the reason that I specify about, you know, the difference between getting this rebuilt versus just fixing it or just repairing it so that it works again is it really irritates me that you know, some people would take this alternator here, put new bearings in it, slap some new brushes in it, get it functional again, but don't, you know, don't clean up the cases, don't, you know, put a new data tag on it, you know, maybe don't put a new set of diodes on it or something like that, and they call that rebuilt. And it's like, no, that's not rebuilt, that's just repaired back to functioning condition, which if that's the goal, so be it. But it's really irritating to hear the term rebuilt get overused, because like people get a bad taste in their mouth about rebuilt stuff, and they, you know, assume that one rebuilt component is the same as the other one because they're both called rebuilt, where one alternator, you know, somebody might have put 2-3 hours of time into to completely and totally refurbish it, you know, polish down the commutators or, you know, whatever, and actually return it back to a like new condition, where some people will just slap bearings and brushes in it and call it a day, and obviously those two are not the same thing. But anyways, so I saw, like I said, when I was watching the video back, what the problem is with this alternator here. So this style of alternator, you know, is two aluminum cases that are held together by these bolts here, and what you should do is tighten these bolts down evenly so that you have, you know, the same distance here that you do over here. And looks like that comes across well enough. It looks like what happened here is the new guy or whatever, you know, tightened this bolt down all the way and, you know, squeezed the cases together over here and then left a big old gap on this side here. And if we take a tape measure on here, we are, see, can I read this through the camera? Yeah, I can. Roughly 9/16 on that side. And 11/16 on the other side there. So that's the problem of why the alternator wouldn't bolt up. I originally thought the holes were misdrilled, but it looks like the holes are machined properly, but this alternator is at a whack like that. And, you know, like I said, that would be fine if that was the only problem with the alternator, but then of course it doesn't charge either, so, you know, what the fuck good is this thing for other than a paperweight? And I guess something to point out as well too is that I have had a lot of alternators rebuilt over the years. And again, talking about an actual definition of rebuilt, there's several there are several shops around here in my area that will rebuild things. And what I try to do is I actually try to like kind of collect, original alternators and starters and what have you like this, and then take those in to get rebuilt. From talking to the different rebuilders around here, they say that these aftermarket ones really aren't even worth it because of the quality of the parts. If you take a rebuilder, this alternator, he's going to give you back the original cases and the stator if it's in good shape and all that kind of thing. And they say that these offshore ones here are just basically not worth a damn, which really sucks. So if you're looking to get parts, any parts rebuilt, whether it's a turbo or something like that, basically, you want to start out with good bones, if you will. Start out with a original OEM one, that is machined to good standards and what have you, and have that one rebuilt. Suppose that's enough of my rambling. Okay, I guess it wasn't enough of my rambling. I was going to say, too, that, the cases being misaligned on this alternator here are not just a problem in the sense of, the bolt holes don't line up, but it shows that, whoever put this alternator together, both, for one, the company, but also the individual person that put together this alternator, that they don't have very good quality control. They really don't give a fuck. And, they don't take time to do things correctly. Of course, mind you, we don't live in a perfect world. And even if you try to buy the utmost, supreme quality stuff out there, things are still going to happen. Obviously I understand that, and nobody's perfect, and, we're just humans. But on the other hand, though, when I see something like this, especially on a cheap brand, and I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, Wilson was the shit. Maybe they were, fantastic quality American-made stuff, but nowadays they're junk. But anyways, when I see a defect like that on a cheap brand like this, it makes me worry not only about the one individual defect that you can see, but what else didn't they care about in the alternator. And evidently they didn't care, they obviously didn't care about other stuff, because the damn thing doesn't charge either. And then two, if the cases are out of whack like that, then it's going to put a lot of stress on the bearings as well too. So yeah, we don't live in a perfect world. I'm sure there's been, I'm sure that there's been Lease Neville alternators that have defects right out of the box, but I'm sure it's much more common of a thing on these cheaper brands. And yeah, fuck you, Wilson, and buy good parts. Alright, last time I'm going to add anything to this video. If I end up wanting to add anything more, then I'll put it in the video description in case anybody's curious. Customer just came and picked up the truck, and they did not want this original alternator for anything. Evidently they don't have a use for it. So I kept it from the customer, or they let me have it, and I want to get this thing fixed up and get it rebuilt by a local shop here and keep it for a spare. I was mistaken though on the cost of the alternators. I thought the Wilson that the customer bought was $150. Turns out that it was $400, and they bought it from a very large corporate national auto parts supplier that's all over the country. Big corporation deal. Like the one that came in this box here, the new Lease Neville that we ended up putting on the truck, that was bought from a small local mom and pop alternator. They do all kinds of stuff, but one of the things that they do is alternator repair. That one was $360. So the junky made in Mexico alternator that didn't even work was more expensive than the good quality American made Lease Neville. And then that way too, I think it's really funny. People say, oh, I can't afford to buy American products, or, I can't afford to, support small local business. Well, sometimes it's actually cheaper.